Déjà, bienvenue au Cinéma Club. Il y a beaucoup de monde. Il y a des gens qui se sont assis alors que d'autres qui avaient des places n'ont pas pu s'asseoir. On va trouver une solution. C'est beau de voir une salle avec autant de jeunesse, autant de gens de tous les âges d'ailleurs, d'hétérogénéité générationnelle. C'est ça qui nous fait plaisir. On est content de vous offrir ce cadeau de fin d'année, de début d'été. C'est 4 jours avec ce réalisateur que vous attendez tous, que vous admirez particulièrement. Je vais sans plus attendre vous demander d'accueillir Olivier, Père, directeur d'Arte Cinéma France. Harold Manu, traducteur. Qui vont donc accompagner l'auteur et scénariste Kim Morgan et le réalisateur Guillermo del Toro.
Only French.
Qui d'entre vous ne parle que le français?
Ah! I want to explain why we chose these movies together. When we were preparing to do Nightmare Alley, we wanted to approach it not like a film noir, the way people understand film noir now, which is an afterthought. Every art school gets its name and analysis after it happens, most of the time. And in the case of film noir, people were interested in doing something gritty, brutal, that evidenced some of the violence that they were looking at in society. I think that we conceived it as something that needed to be approached without the cliches of the smoking under a fan and a wet street with a dame, none of that. We said, where did we start with this? And we started watching many, many movies. For me, inspiration comes many times from paintings, music, theater. In this case, the American realists were a special school of painters that was important for me, like Thomas Hart Benton, who were pulsing with the same sense of inequality and the betrayal of the pastoral ideals of America. It was founded on ideals about freedom and equality, and by the time they started writing noir, everybody after World War I knew it was bullshit. And the crash of the market, the destruction of their lives. So noir had to be put on the table again and analyzed again for us, and we went back to the roots. The prose came, and largely for me, the rhythms came from Hemingway, and they were trying to expose the dishonesty about America, the dishonesty of the big experiment. And we then came up, we watched a lot of Pre-Code, William Wyler, and William Wellman. We watched Heroes for Sale, we watched Wild West on the Road, yeah, a lot of that. And then one of the things we said is, we started talking about neorealism. And we said, neorealism has the same compulsion to show the inequality and the brutality of the economical pressure and the suffocation as noir, without the crime most of the time, obsession notwithstanding. And we decided to give it a go, and we watched El Grido. Every movie that you're going to watch with us, how many of you are going to see the whole thing? Oh, God damn it. Well, the 4 movies? Ah, oh. Sacré Dieu. Putain de la vie. Well, I think if you were to watch the movies, the last day we'll come back, and my proposal to the cinema and to Ronnie is we stay until they kick us out. We watch Nightmare Alley and we talk 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever the fuck you want. We talk about anything you want. But if you are going for all the movies, you'll see them inform Nightmare Alley little by little. That's how we put this list together. Sorry, that's my opening remark.
Pas besoin de traduction, alors vous allez traduire ma question. Alors, le cri et le grido, c'est des trois films que vous avez choisis, le seul qui n'est pas américain et le seul qui n'est pas un film réalisé dans les années 40. Donc au départ, on aurait pu trouver ce choix surprenant. Mais c'est vrai que quand on revoit le film, on est frappé à quel point il y a des similitudes frappantes avec votre dernier film Nightmare Alley. Donc est-ce que c'est quelque chose qui, au-delà de l'adaptation du livre, de vos recherches, est-ce que c'est vraiment un film qui a beaucoup compté au moment de l'écriture, de la préparation de votre film?
Well, the circular structure of the film really spoke to us, because that's the journey that Stanton goes through, and from the beginning to the end. I mean, you feel that I don't want to ruin the ending.
How many have you seen the movie?
This movie.
Oh,
On peut juste dire qu'il y a une structure circulaire, voilà.
When the spaceships arrive, you will.
But they're different men, but they're similar in a lot of ways in that there's something lost, there's something sad within them, even as brutal as Stanton is, and as he's a climber and a striver, which is a little different than Aldo, Steve Cochran's character in this film. There is still this journey that he's going on, but that he's sort of going back to where he came from, and he maybe knows he is, or he doesn't know he is, but he is, and you could call it many things. You could call it fate, you could call it destiny, you could call it a sort of self-suicide, you could call it a submission, and so we like
me with this chair.
But he also, I love the synthesis of what you were talking about with noir too, because I think we talked about this with the Sessione, that is one of the first, the James M. Cain, and that is a neorealism that is very similar, that is a noir essentially, and so Steve Cochran was a noir actor also, so all of this kind of came together. The other aspect too were all the different women. I don't want to explain all of it, but that was another thing that we saw similarities, and that the women seemed to survive in this landscape that was changing so much, and he was having such a hard time with it. And as much as Stanton is like pushing his depression under, and yes, and Steve Cochran's character, it's there. You see it. You see that he is depressed, and he's lost something. He's lost a family, even as he's taking his child with him. And again, should I say, that sad scene when the little girl goes away. But Stanton rejects a family.
What happens to me is when you mentioned a word that is important, inexorable.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. I mean, I think noir is the tragedy of American culture. It's like the Greek tragedy, but instead of the gods being against man, is man and greed and impulses against man. The downfall of man is by man. And you know in a noir, there will be no happy ending.
And you see that in the grido too, in terms of all the changes that are going on in the landscape. What's changing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the landscape was the other part that was important for me as director, and what we discussed when we get to Nightmare Alley. If you're here, I decided to do very, very, very few close-ups, and let the landscape and the sets and the environments talk about who the characters were. So it's one of my widest movies in lensing. You know, I always land in the mid-20s, and this one we cracked out the 14, for example. And it's important to do that because Antonioni, one of his great virtues, and this movie is right on the moment where Antonioni goes from neo-realist to the full Antonioni, you know, and he uses landscape and environments to talk about the characters and the loneliness of the characters.
Mm-hmm. And the merging too is similar to what we were thinking about with merging this kind of pre-code grittiness with noir. So there's a neorealism and then sort of architectural aspect, not sort of Antonioni that's all there, but it's, to me, it's very emotional. I think his films are emotional.
Antonioni est plus un héritier du néoréalisme qu'un vrai néoréaliste, puisqu'il a commencé sa carrière en 1950, mais en revanche c'est vrai qu'il y a dans le cri quelque chose qui est de l'ordre de l'héritage du néoréalisme, parce qu'il tourne dans des lieux réels avec un mélange d'acteurs professionnels et de non professionnels, et c'est aussi un fait important dans sa carrière, au-delà du fait que c'est un film de transition qui annonce l'Aventura, c'est aussi le seul film où il s'intéresse à la classe ouvrière, où il s'intéresse à des personnages qui vivent dans la pauvreté et dans une situation, une grande précarité, et ça ajoute à la tristesse, au désespoir de ces gens qui sont aussi dans une rupture sentimentale.
I agree, and if you read the great paragons of noir literature, to me, James M. Cain, when he writes Mildred Pierce is entirely consumed by dollars and cents. You know how much pies cost, chicken, fried chicken, how much is making per pie. So there's an absolute consciousness on noir about the money, and the fact that that this game is entirely rigged, and that we are all fucked, and that the only way we're gonna break through is through violence or passion and craziness. And the same, you get, there's some similarities between this and the itinerant sort of symbolic nature of the postman always rings twice, in a way, you know, how he stops at a place and makes it a home for a while, but it's not really a home and all that.
We also, we read, again, They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Just McCoy, where it's, and in the movie too, where it's, again, this desperate people in this circular motion, where they, at the end, she also submits.
Yes.
And it's showing what's really going on in, I believe, this glamorous society too.
Underneath that, yeah. And we were talking this morning, we had coffee.
And then it's rigged.
Yeah, that is right.
Very much
we had
rigged.
coffee and we were saying if America had not gotten the censorship code, it would have been European cinema in many ways. When you watch pre-code, the way they talk about love triangles, crime, passion, drugs, you know, like 3 on a match.
Or Heroes for Sale, which deals with morphine addiction.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Very brutal, yeah.
Et pour venir au cri et à votre cinéma, comme je le disais, c'est un héritier du néoréalisme, donc il y a une dimension presque documentaire, mais il y a aussi un effort et un effet de stylisation très très fort dans le cri, et c'est là où on retrouve la dimension très picturale, très esthétique du cinéma d'Antonioni, puisque, comme vous le disiez, il y a très peu de gros plans, et en revanche, c'est un film qui fonctionne beaucoup sur l'inscription de silhouettes dans un paysage, qui est un paysage mental, pas un paysage psychologique, parce que Antonioni se méfiait de la psychologie, mais d'un paysage sentimental, émotionnel, qui est le reflet de la tristesse du personnage principal. Et on retrouve ça aussi dans Nightmare Alley, comme vous disiez ce matin, que la version noir et blanc amplifiait la dimension documentaire du film, et en même temps aussi la dimension onirique, très stylisé du film dans les deux parties différentes.
Yeah, one of the things we tried to do with Nightmare Alley, we talked from the beginning, one of my big heroes that nobody guesses, everybody thinks, oh, he likes horror films, yeah, but you'll be surprised at how my main collection is drama, melodrama, and comedy. And it's because one of my heroes from decades ago is Douglas Sirk, and Douglas Sirk uses the ratio of contrast of black and white and the color of a color movie brilliantly. And we said, let's do a black and white movie in color. But during the pandemic, we got 6 months of stop in Nightmare Alley. And I started showing him the movie in black and white. And we went, fuck it. Let's do another version in black and white. And then we shot the second half of the movie. And we prepared both versions with support from the studio. And they are two completely different movies. Completely different, and I'm at the particular stage in my career which I call I don't give a fuck. So I do whatever I want to do, and if I cannot do it, I don't do it. I go to vacation on the Normandy coast and have a pancake. You know, but it's really good for me to to be able to present this version with whoever is here to talk about it, because it's a different way to tell the movie.
En attendant de découvrir samedi soir Nightmare Alley en noir et blanc, là vous allez voir le cri en 35 mm, si je me trompe pas, non, c'est en DCP. Ah, pardon. Mais vous allez voir que le film a une photo noir et blanc magnifique, où il a évacué quasiment tous les noirs pour faire une photo très, très grise, très brumeuse, puisque c'est un film qui se déroule pendant un hiver interminable dans la plaine du Pô. Donc il y a vraiment un travail sur les atmosphères, la brume et les gris qui est extraordinaire dans le film d'Antonioni. C'est Gianni Di Venanzo qui a fait la photo, je crois, qui était un grand chef italien.
Yeah, what we did, look, I'll tell you two things. One sounds like a joke, it isn't. If you make film, one of the hardest things to color correct is black and white, because there's not such a thing as pure white and pure black, and you can have silver black and white, you can have sepia-esque black and white. It's incredibly difficult to even it out in a cohesive aesthetic, and you have to art direct for that. When you art direct the clothing, the sets, and what we talked about is for the movie Nightmare Alley to start shooting a certain way, and then the second half when he goes to the city goes much more stylized. And one of the things we decided, Antonioni, you said he calls the landscape of the soul, right?
And you can really feel the loneliness, he was saying, and it was very important to him to shoot it that way. He was
shoot it in winter.
Specifically in winter, yeah.
And what we did is we did the same on Nightmare Alley. The first part is rain, and the second half is snow. It's the same element, but the character has changed, and he goes from being sort of a regular guy to being this cold, calculating guy. So the rain turns into snow, which makes my movies a lot of fun to shoot. It's horrible. I never had exterior Saint-Tropez. It's always sewage and water and dankness. But I think it's important because noir, and particularly Nightmare Alley for us, and we'll talk about it when we show it, is a travel to the interior. Most of our movies, and we can talk about Daphne du Maurier or Patricia Highsmith, certainly James M. Cain, and certainly Cornel Woolrich. All the people that are attracted to this genre are attracted to a theater in which the parts of themselves act a play. We write only about ourselves. That's all we write about, and that's all we talk about. It's impossible to talk about anything else, and we use it as a symbolic theater. And I think that we'll talk about this movie tomorrow or the last day again, but I think that happens here too.
Yeah, certainly. It's about where he came from too.
Yes.
So, but we talked about before how when he goes to the city, Nightmare Alley, he's much more dislocated there.
Yes.
So once it makes that transition, even though it feels more maybe beautiful to some people, or it has the stylistic elements.
It's more polished, yeah.
There's more doorways. There's more. It's more
framed by.
It's more framed.
Architecture.
He feels trapped even more.
But since you're not going to see Nightmare Alley.
That's true. It's a little bit.
I apologize.
But there is an architectural element to, especially the second half.
I'm inviting everyone.
Yeah.
We'll show it again.
Samedi, on fera le bilan des 4 films et on pourra étudier toutes les correspondances et toutes les relations entre les films. J'avais peut-être une dernière question par rapport à Antonioni. C'est le seul film européen que vous avez choisi. Est-ce que dans les films qui vous ont beaucoup influencé ou intéressé pendant la préparation de Nightmare Alley, il y a d'autres films non américains, d'autres films européens, ou alors c'est uniquement le cri?
Well, I consider American cinema half European cinema, because most of the practitioners of the classics came from Europe. So, but if I had to choose,
Otto Preminger, for instance,
which we will see, but I feel that one of the big, and I think that influences cannot be direct. Like I always say, if you're going to design a robot, don't watch robot movies. If you want to design a beautiful deco, don't watch a deco movie that already sold it. Get influence from other things, and this was so different, and yet illuminated a whole new aspect of noir for us, that was important. But European filmmakers that influenced me is a litany. I mean, one of my 3 favorite filmmakers, I love Buñuel, Hitchcock, and Fellini. And Fellini, for me, is one of the guys, and when I was reading his biography, I was young, and I was very struck by what he says. When I was black and white, I used the black and white to its maximum. When I got color, I used color to its maximum. And the same, Hitchcock said something similar. He said, when I was doing silent, I wanted to tell everything without any words or sounds. And when I was doing sound, I needed to use it to express. And that is a credo in what I do, is I say, look, we have 10 choices as filmmakers. But think about music. The entire history of music is written with a handful of notes. Every single symphony, opera, song, commercial, jingle is written with the same notes. And our choices as filmmakers, and if you are filmmakers, we'll talk about it the last day. This was supposed to be 10 minutes. We'll talk about what you want. Do you go to the character? Does the character come to you? Do I raise the camera? Or the camera waits for the character and waits for him to be high? Do I raise to him? Do I pull away? And these choices are writing. They are syntax, and the syntax of European cinema, of whose, for me, is extremely important in how to stage. And Cirque is a European filmmaker.
Hitchcock.
And Hitchcock was another one we were watching.
Opals we watched, yeah. And the American Opals.
The Reckless Moment.
The Reckless Moment, which is fantastic movie, and is Opals Hitchcock. We like that play. We say Marnie is Hitchcock's Buñuel, and Elle is Buñuel's Hitchcock. And we say, and if you play with cinema is so open that you can use things that don't look rationally, directly related to your work, and if you use them weird, more creatively, they speak to you, the words, in a different way. Same with painting, same with music.
Très bien. Merci. Merci beaucoup.
For those that are coming the 4 days, at one point I will break that chair with my ass. So please, buy more tickets. Thank you.
We have a small tradition at the Christine and Diego. It's like you go there and we take a picture with all the audience behind you.
Oh, that's good.
Ok. Peut-être mettre un peu d'ambiance. So you go there.
I gotta show them my ass?
Yeah, exactly.
I apologize in advance. Please don't look. All right, ready? All right, perfect.
Si vous êtes content d'être là, n'hésitez pas à le faire savoir.
Merci. Au revoir. Bonne soirée. Tradition.
Merci Guillermo, merci Kim, merci Olivier, merci Harold. Et donc le cri n'est pas en 35 mm et bien en DCP. On continuera avec Crime passionnel en 35 mm, L'inconnu du Nord Express en 35 mm et Nightmare Alley en noir et blanc. Vive le cinéma.